Oh, hi. It's Bruiser from Bruiser's Backyard. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to make an indoor exhaust system for an electric dryer. Electric dryer only, not gas dryers. You don't want those fumes inside your house. I'm going to use some parts that I'm upcycling. I'm going to use some new parts. I'm going to use some simple tools. I'll break it down for you for indoor winter use. Reclaim some of those precious heating dollars from the electric dryer going into this, producing heat and humidity for the winter time, and be able to quick connect it back into the wall to exhaust it for the summertime. So let's get right to it. Here are the supplies you'll need: a 5-gallon bucket with lid, a dryer dock, a dryer duct hose, a dryer sheet, 4 small screws with nuts, either 4 or 5 millimeters, or between 5/32 and 3/16 of an inch. As for the tools, you'll need a drill, a standard drill bit the size of your screws, a 1-inch paddle bit, a utility knife, a hot glue gun with some sticks, a Phillips head screwdriver, a ruler or measuring tape, and a marker. Now let's put it all together. This is an Everbuilt 4-inch dryer dock, purchased at Home Depot for just under $7. I bought 2 of them. One female dock will go on the top of the bucket for the winter use, and the other female dock will go into the wall so that I can easily reconnect the exhaust to go back outside for summer use. This bad boy is the 4-inch accordion style dryer duct hose. If yours hasn't been cleaned or replaced in a while, you might want to get a whole new one, because that is where most of your dryer fires will start. You can get one for about $7 at Walmart or the hardware store. To install the exhaust hose into the male dock connector, simply spin the hose into the threaded opening, making sure that it is fully inserted and smoothed out on the inside so that air will flow freely. Now you could buy a new 5-gallon bucket with a lid, or you can upcycle one from paint, or in my case, an easily cleaned out spackle bucket. So I place the lid flat on the table, I put the dock over top, and I'm going to trace around the opening with a Sharpie marker. It doesn't have to be exact, but you probably want it as close as possible. You can always open it up just a little bit more. It's always easier to take away material than add it. So I go ahead and I get busy here with my razor blade. I insert a cutting board underneath to make sure that I don't puncture the table, obviously. And I'm going to score the lid, taking it around one time, just trying to mar the plastic on the top. And this will give me a guideline that'll actually keep my blade in place as I cut in the future, so that as I go actually through the lid, I have a guide and it's not going astray. Now I'm going to mark my lid for the screw holes so that I can match them up later. One thing I learned the hard way is to check the underside of the lid for any support braces that might be along the edges. Measure in from that point so that I'm sure that my paddle bit goes through the thinnest part of the lid plastic and it doesn't hit any supports underneath the lid. So in this case, my supports on the lid are 1 inch in from the edge of the bucket. I'll go to the top side of the bucket, I'll measure in 1 inch, and then I'll add an extra 1/2 inch because I'm using a 1-inch paddle bit that has a 1/2 inch radius. So 1.5 inches from the edge, I'm going to mark for 8 1-inch holes evenly spaced on the lid, measuring 2 holes in opposite ends of the lid, then turning the lid 90 degrees, marking 2 more, rotating 45 degrees, marking 2 more, and finally 90 degrees. That should give me 8 holes evenly spaced throughout. I'm going to use my 1-inch paddle bit and gently apply pressure with the drill so that it scores the outside of the lid before I actually break through. I will also use a small drill bit for the docking screw holes as well. For my case, I'm using a 5/32 drill bit. You should use the drill bit that works best for the size screws that you purchased. I'm going to guide my screws through the outside of the bucket lid, and I'm going to put the nut on the inside of the lid. While holding on to the nut on the underside, I'm going to use the Phillips head screwdriver to tighten the screw. I'll use my utility knife to clean off any excess plastic that might be hanging on to the holes after the paddle bits have gone through. Now let's go to the install. Start off by pulling the dryer away from the wall, loosening the screw on the dryer exhaust hose. I will remove this coupler and I will install my female dryer dock, and then retighten the hose clamp to make sure it's snug. I'll press the whole assembly back into the wall and I'll screw it in for a clean finished look. But I notice now that there's a draft coming from the hole. So I'll wad up some insulation and I'll stuff it into the unused male portion of my other dryer dock. I unscrew the exhaust hose from the dryer. You could reach in there, or you can grab a vacuum and vacuum out any extra lint that might be stuck inside the dryer. I take the hose clamp and I put it over top of the exhaust hose coming from my bucket and reattach it to the dryer. I'll fill my bucket halfway full of water and then I'll snap the lid back on. I set the bucket and the dryer back in place. Only thing left to do is reap the rewards. So, I hope you liked today's indoor exhaust for electric dryers only, right? And as always, like and subscribe, leave comments in the list below, and I'll put some links to the products that I use throughout the video. For Bruiser's Backyard, Bruiser out.